We still got, what, 3 minutes, Dr. Glenn? Or 59 seconds? 3 minutes.
I don't know if she's in there or not. I don't know if the screen.
Yeah, it looks like something's going on. We should be coming up.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM, WBIS-LP. This is the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivation with Glenn and Jaqueline Cullins Williams. I will introduce my co-host at this time, who will introduce our special guest for today from the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Services. Is that correct?
North Carolina Wildlife Resources
Thank
Commission.
you.
Yes, sir.
Jackie.
Hey, Dr. Glenn and our listening audience. I am Jaqueline Cullins Williams, and we have on our show today a very good topic. We're talking about wildlife, and we have with us two wildlife officers, and one is not on camera, but she'll switch over if she needs to. We have Officer Walker, Shelton Walker, and we also have Officer Jordan Keys in the studio with us. And so we're excited about our show on today. We're going to give you some interesting facts. I know even today, as I was coming on, I learned a few things that I didn't know. So we know that this show is going to be packed with information. We're going to teach you some things and expose to you some things that you didn't know before, and some things that you might be familiar with, but you don't know exactly. So we're glad to have them on our show on today. And so we're getting started on today. Officer Walker, will you tell us about what it is like to be a wildlife officer? Give us some information about this particular job and career. I know we see a lot of things. I think we take for granted that there's a lot going on. When I looked at this subject, there were so many things that were incorporated in this subject that I was like, wow, because we never really think about it too much. And one of them I want to make sure that we talk about is like when an animal's killed on the side of the road. I mean, mysteriously it just disappears, and we didn't know who picked it up or what happened to it. And I know sometimes I believe that falls under the animal control officers as well. So if you would just let us know about this job and give us some things and tell us some things about this particular career and what it encompasses.
Yes, ma'am. Well, first off, just thank y'all for having me and Officer Keys. Being a wildlife officer in North Carolina, it's to me, bad. Grew up hunting and fishing, grew up being in the outdoors, and it's something I've always wanted to do. Growing up hunting and fishing, I was always checked growing up, ensuring that we had the right license, or you're within the set number of game that the law states you can have. But Our main role as North Carolina wildlife enforcement officers is to enforce the hunting, fishing, boating, and trapping laws in the state of North Carolina. We're fully sworn state law enforcement officers. Like I said, our subject matter is those 4 things I mentioned earlier. But we assist other law enforcement agencies. We assist them with non-wildlife related crimes when we're out and about. Another big part of our job is to educate the public on hunting, fishing, and boating and trapping, what you can do, what you can't do. But as an outdoorsman myself, and then becoming a wildlife officer, biggest thing is conserving that resource so that my kids, grandkids, and future generations can enjoy the same resources I did growing up. So, our job. They used to like to tell us in our academy we're the Swiss Army knife of law enforcement. We kind of do a little bit of everything with the main focus on hunting, fishing, boating, trapping. But day by day, what we do it's different. There's really never a set schedule. One day we could be on the boat checking fishing licenses. Next day we're patrolling on foot checking hunters. Next day we're teaching a hunter education class or boater safety class. It just all depends. But main thing is just ensuring people follow the laws and we have those wildlife and natural resources for future generations to come.
That is awesome, because you never think about that our resources need to be protected. And that's an awesome thing. We just live and we go forward and we just do. And we just never really think about these things. We use our water. If we want to, go down to the lake or someplace that has a nice lake, we don't think about that there's someone that's protecting that lake.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
ma'am. So I think it's a great job, and I think today is a great exposure for us. Dr. Glenn, did you have something?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
For Jackie. So you love wildlife? Am I assuming that correctly?
Well, let's be honest about me. I like to watch wildlife shows and videos on Facebook. That is the crux of my interest.
Yes, ma'am.
Me too.
So I am interested in that. But as far as firsthand dealing with wildlife, I do not.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, as far as wildlife is concerned in North Carolina, I moved here to North Carolina in 2014. I believe it was in 2015. I was on my way back from Philadelphia. I was coming out 264, which is now 587. And I'm coming through Wilson area. All of a sudden, all the traffic came to a complete stop. I'm like, what in the world's going on? As I'm going up, I see all the emergency vehicles, lights flashing. I'm like, it's probably a bad accident. What had happened was a big black bear guy ran over by a tractor trailer. Was stretched down the middle of the road, so the entire road was closed. That's what happened. I'm like, there's a bear in this area. Yes, there's a bear in this area. About maybe 4 weeks ago, I could have swore I saw a black bear in my backyard with 3 deer following him. I'm like, that's a black bear. It had to be. You know, I'm in Winterville, Big County. Is there a black bear there? Because I could have sworn I saw a black bear.
Yes, sir.
I thought it was a bear.
Oh yeah. And the cool thing about Eastern North Carolina is, as far as black bear go, we have some of the highest populations in the country as far as black bear. And I meant to mention earlier, if you hunt, fish, boat, or trap, you people, they see us more often, see what we do. But anybody, even if you don't hunt, fish, boat, or trap, I think anybody can agree, when you see wildlife, it automatically just grabs your attention. Yeah. There's just something fascinating about wild things and wildlife, so it's for everybody to enjoy, even if you're not into those things. But kind of like you said, you saw the black bear, or just seeing any type of wildlife in general, just automatically it kind of captivates you and sparks curiosity.
Yeah, and I don't want to catch you off guard, but another thing is I utilize the Nextdoor app, and I see a lot of posts on there from my area. People are putting posts on there about what type of snake is this, because they find a snake in their backyard, probably runs it through their trash can or recycle bin. So they find a snake, they take a picture of it, and they put on the post. trying to identify what type of snake it is. I don't mess with no snakes, so I'll leave that one alone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So my question is for you, what type of snakes should we encounter here in North Carolina?
As far as snakes, a lot of your most common ones, you'll see. Some people call them cottonmouths or water moccasins. You'll see right many of them, especially around swampy wetlands areas. Copperheads are quite common. In some before I was stationed in Bertie County, I was down in Jones County, and timber rattlesnakes were real big down that way. You'd see right many of them. There's a lot of non-venomous. We call them. Or you have black racers, chicken snakes, rat snakes. Green little garter snakes. King snakes is another common one you see around here. There's almost too many to mention. But those are really some of the most common ones that you will see around here. A lot of people don't like snakes, but they serve a purpose just like everything else. Any snake's protected. We don't encourage people to go out there and kill snakes. Like I said, they're a super important part of the ecosystem, and they play a role in it just like every other wildlife. So
we have 30 seconds before we go to the first break. We'll be back with more information on North Carolina wildlife with our very special guest, Officer Walker Shelton from North Carolina Wildlife Resources. And now, Jackie, will you take us out to break, please?
Definitely. And we're going to be asking some more questions. We want for you to, we're going to post the numbers that need to be called if there is wildlife. We want our public to have that information. So we'll be back from the break.
106.9 FM, WPIXLP. All right, that's only a break for only like a minute, then 6 seconds, and we'll be back live.
okay.
Do you guys want contact information for who serves this county?
If you can do that, guys, when I say
Yeah.
Well, you're not on your computer, but on your computer, I open up the chat if you want to put that number in the chat.
Okay. All right.
You can mention it and put it in the chat also.
Okay.
Do you
Or
want
Jackie,
to
do you
just do
have-
the 1-800
You
number?
have a number?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, you put it in it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask online.
Is
Live,
your,
what
is your,
number to call?
wait, is your chat open?
It's
I
not.
see some over there.
It's not.
Can I put the calling number in the chat? I hit your chat button over there. You see it
Where is it?
to the right somewhere. Private chat, right there. Down
Oh, I
the
see it.
bottom. Yeah, there, hit that. Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Okay.
You see it, Officer Shelton?
1-800.
What is it? 1-800
662
662
7137.
7137.
And that will give you our dispatch, and then no matter where you're at, they can get you a contact.
So it's like a 911 dispatcher.
Basically, yeah.
Did you put it in there?
I'm fixed to right now.
All right. We're coming back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for keeping it locked right here to Awesome Radio. 106.9 FM, Winterville, Hayden, Grifton, Southside, Greenville, North Carolina. This is the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivation with Glenn and Jaquelinne Collins-Williams. Our special guest, Officer Walker Shelton from the North Carolina Resources Commission. And we're talking about safety aspects as far as wildlife concerned in North Carolina and hunting and fishing season here in North Carolina. But we were finishing up some things. We had a question, or I had a question about the various snakes, and then we went out to the break. So I'm gonna pick back up with my co-host, Ms.
Hey, Officer Shelton. I asked the question, if there's a problem with wildlife, like maybe you do find a poisonous, or you think it's a poisonous snake, or maybe even there's a bear at your home, is there a number that we would call and be able to? So for me, call police. Everything is called police. And I know the police is a solution for every, particular problem, especially when it comes to an animal or something. And so if you could give us that number so people would be able to record it and have it so they would get to the right place.
Yes, ma'am. I actually have two numbers. I have one that, if you see any type of wildlife violation, somebody doing any type of activity, you can call this hotline. It goes to our law enforcement dispatch and they report it to us officers. That number is 1-800-662-7137. And as you mentioned earlier, wildlife, or you're concerned about wildlife in your yard, or you have any questions dealing with anything wildlife related, our wildlife helpline number, you can call that number, what you see, what's going on, and they can advise you on the next steps, whether you need to go further with a district biologist, whether they'll call us out, we'll come remove the animal, whatever it may be. But that number is 1-866-318-2401.
And in addition to the numbers you just mentioned, since you are a law enforcement agency of the North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission, for emergency situations, are you still under the 911 system?
So, any true emergency in that moment, definitely call 911. The two numbers I gave you, especially, if you're not in any danger whatsoever, especially for the violation line, the 1-800-662-7137. Obviously, if you're in no danger, recommend you calling us for that. And then for the wildlife helpline, but most certainly, if you're in danger, any trouble, definitely call 911.
That's what I figured. So that's
yes, sir.
Answer that. And like Jackie mentioned, she liked to call the police for everything, but sometimes you realize you can't call the police for everything.
That's right.
That's right. That's why your local police agencies have a non-emergency number as well.
That's right.
So you won't have to call 911.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I'm so sorry to bring that list with me today, but I will make it available so that the listening audience will have it. And in addition, if you would like a copy of those numbers, please email me at glennjohnsonshow@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to supply that document to you. I'll put my email address in the chat room as we continue to talk today's topic.
Definitely. And Dr. Glenn, I wanted to say, and when we were talking about, if you believe that there's wildlife, I had just a little list here. And all, with us living in a town, a lot of times we see, things that should be, as my mind says, should be outside, living in the woods, and they're actually living in the city part or in the town part, and they're eating out of our garbage, and they're, coming across our back porch or, scratching and kind of being in our area. And so I wanted to say that, and I looked at this little list before we came, bats, raccoons, foxes, and skunks all fall under wildlife that you can call those numbers with. If you're having an issue or they're, becoming a nuisance, or, sometimes they may be just minding their own business, but they feel like we're bothering them when they're actually in our way, and they may, try to get aggressive. So you can call those numbers for those particular things. I wanted to ask one question here. Also, we talked about endangered plants before we started on, and so we wanted to mention that because we also know that that you guys police, or you protect concerning endangered animals as well as endangered plants. Can you give us, Officer Walker, or your partner, some of the endangered animals that we might see or that you guys are protecting?
Officer Jordan.
Yes, thank you for having me on the show today. I'd love to talk about some endangered plants that we encounter out in the state. So closer to this area, first off, we're gonna have the Venus flytrap. The Venus flytrap, it is found, nowhere else in the world except for about, a 70-mile radius outside of Wilmington. So it makes it kind of a rare plant. It's super protected. Even just poaching one can carry a felony, high fines, even time in jail. People have served time in jail for poaching Venus flytraps, and a lot of times what they're doing is they're poaching these Venus flytraps to sell to the plant market. People like to have them in their house, stuff like that. There's a market for them because they are rare. So we like to let people know, as tempting as it can be to have something so rare, the penalty that comes with it from going out and collecting these plants, it's not worth it.
And so did I hear you correctly when you said that was only found in a 70-mile radius in Wilmington, North Carolina? That's it?
That's it in the whole world.
In the whole entire world, Wilmington, North Carolina?
Yes.
That is amazing.
It is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's very, very knowledgeable information. So I want to thank you so much for that. I also know there's a plant, ginseng in North Carolina.
Yes.
Is that legal in North Carolina? And I know one of the reasons why I'm asking is because I know people use ginseng for a lot of different things. I think it has some antioxidant properties, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so ginseng is also another protected plant that's found in North Carolina. It is found out in the western part of North Carolina in the mountainous regions. Ginseng collection does have seasons that you can legally collect the plant. There's also stipulations as far as you need to have written permission from the land that you're collecting it from, and absolutely under no circumstances are there ever ginseng collected from state parks, national parks, state game lands. And if you were to poach the ginseng from any of those lands, those also do carry high fines and sometimes even jail time.
Wow.
And depending on what time of year it is, you might be responsible for seeding the area with the berries that you dig the roots from, because that's what people are after, is not the leafy plant part itself, but they're after the roots and the medicinal properties that come with the roots. And it's also, another plant that's found in, not that many areas. So Western North Carolina and I believe parts of the Ozark can ginseng as well. But because it's not found in a lot of places, it creates a big market for it. Even being sold on the black market and stuff like that for traditional medicine and medicinal purposes. And
because of, I think it's antioxidant properties, is there also electrolyte properties in the ginseng?
I'm not too savvy on the actual health benefits. I do know that it is good for you. A lot of people swear by it. I know I've consumed drinks before that ginseng for energy. And there is legal ways to go about harvesting it and selling it in products. But as far as what we police, there are certain times of the year in certain areas of land that if you go out there and poach that plant, then you're going to be faced with some pretty hefty fines.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have 10 seconds before we go to the next break. Then we'll be back with our final 10 minutes. I can't believe we just reached our final 10 minutes already. But keep it locked right here to Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM. Back in a moment.
That flew by.
I cannot believe we done the last 10 minutes already.
I know, that is crazy.
That flew by.
We're about to come right back.
Mine says
We're coming right back.
Dr. Lynn, mine says 325. 325.
That might be wrong then.
You're wrong.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Glenn Johnson Show, Awesome Radio. And our clock might actually be off. So if that's the case, we'll continue with the broadcast if we can. But if we reach the hour marker, then it's out of our hand. I'll try to reach the owner, see if we can go to the system and make some corrections. But if this is our final 10 minutes, I'm not going to delay anything. I'm going to give it back to my co-host who's been doing an excellent job, and Officer Walker Shelton from North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission. Thank you, Officer.
Yes, I have one more question for you. Is it legal to shoot an animal that is attacking, or you feel like you're in danger from that animal? Is it okay to protect yourself and shoot that animal?
Yes, ma'am, it is. You know, and in a case like that, you know, if a wild animal's attacking you, your children, a pet, they're actively attacking, you do have a right to protect yourself. You know, I would definitely, that's one of those situations. I definitely call 911. We would definitely like to get involved, just in, you know, to, hopefully most, wildlife attacking you is pretty rare. You know, a lot of people are afraid of black bear. Black bear they're way more scared of us than we should be of them. But in a rare case that they were to attack you, a family member, a pet, or something like that, you know, it's definitely something we want to know about. Hopefully, you know, and if you do kill the animal while protecting yourself or your family, you know, we want to look into it and kind of see why that animal attacked you in the first place, because it's very, very rare for a wild animal to attack. So.
Okay. Also, if you happen to come across a deer, and we see those sometimes lying on the side of the road, is it okay if you hit the deer to take the deer with you? Some people might consider that dinner, or future meals. Is it okay to take that deer?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, it is. You know, we most of the time, you know, if a motorist were to hit a deer, highway patrol or some other law enforcement agency, they'll come out there to do a wreck report or police report on it. And a lot of times we're contacted in those instances. You know, we'll come out, or either we'll have the individual talk to us over the phone, and we'll write them a permit to be able to keep that meat for consumption.
And my question would be, do you work with other agencies, like, for instance, animal control and things of that nature? And do you ever encounter wildlife with the probably that has a disease?
Yes, sir. I mean, we work hand in hand with a lot of agencies, whether it be state, local, federal agencies. You know, we do. I mean, you could talk all day. There's a disease. It's a cervid disease. It's chronic wasting disease. Most commonly known as CWD. It only affects cervids. So like white-tailed deer, elk, moose, mule deer, things like that. Well, it was just found in our state last year, and you know, we recommend the public, if you see any white-tailed deer, if you're out and about, see if they act funny, they seem real. You know, I've seen deer, they walk in circles, they just don't act right. They seem real emaciated, skinny, just something don't seem right. Definitely contact us. Call one of those numbers. Let us know that's something we want to know about, especially our wildlife management staff, our biologists. That way, you know, anything that's funny, the sooner we can get a hold on a disease or anything like that regarding wildlife, the better. We can, you know, hopefully go ahead and get a grasp on it. So,
and as far as the animal with the might be rabies or carotid disease, is one of the telltale signs a white substance, I'm thinking of the word, white foamy substance.
Yeah, like foam out the mouth. It can be, yes, sir. I mean, they, you know, like in the last several years, one big virus or disease you've seen is a canine distemper. So it's, you know, foxes or raccoons, those wild, they have no normal fear of humans. I mean, most of the time, if you see a fox or a raccoon in your backyard, when you close the distance and walk up to them, I mean, they're going the other way. But a wild animal that has something like rabies, you know, or canine distemper, they have no common fear of you. I mean, they act funny. They like raccoons, foxes. They're most of the time they're real active at night. But it's just, you know, these animals that are infected by these diseases, they'll all day, like not scared of you. They may growl, walk in circles. It looks like they haven't eaten anything in a while. So
Yeah, and I'd like to add something to that too. A lot of people think, when they see animals that are acting funny, they might have rabies or something like that. I like to ease some people's minds because by the time that animal starts acting, real crazy like that, I think a lot of people think that they just continue to live like that, spreading the disease and possibly attacking people, for a long time. They maybe have like 48 to 72 hours left in their life before that disease takes them. So when you see an animal like that, it's best to just leave them alone, put yourself in the house, put your dogs in. If you yourself can't take care of that situation, we can always help out with that. But, if you lose sight of it or something, just know that it's not going to take much longer for that animal to be deceased.
Yeah.
And my advice to you is to run. There is nothing wrong with running and getting away and just, do what you have to do. Running is a good response. You see something acting strange, don't investigate it. Walk away, run away, get as fast as you can away from it. That's my advice today. Dr. Glenn?
We have 3 minutes remaining for the broadcast if the board and clock is right. But I want to point out the Officer Shelton put the North Carolina Wildlife number in the chat. If you can see that, if you're listening and you're online, it'll be available on YouTube and Facebook after the broadcast ends. That number, once again, is 1-800-662-7137. And Officer Shelton, you want to get the last 2 minutes if this is the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'll just say thank y'all for having us on here. Like I said, if you don't hunt or fish, thankfully in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of shows on Animal Planet, Lone Star Law, Louisiana Law, kind of highlighting what game wardens or wildlife officers do in those respective states. But like I said, if you don't hunt or fish a lot, you might not know what we do. But we're here for all citizens of the state, whether you hunt, fish, boat, or trap. We serve our main role is conserving the resources for everybody, not just the folks that hunt and fish, but also for the folks that don't. But we play a public safety role as well. We want to make sure folks get out there, hunt, fish, boat, and trap, but we want to make sure at the end of the day they're safe and they go home. So
safety is important.
Yes, sir.
That brings me to another question. So you as an officer and a ranger, can you enter a private property without a warrant depending on the circumstances?
Yes, sir. According to the open field doctrine, that allows us to go on to private property to enforce the fish and game laws. So wildlife in North Carolina, no single individual owns wildlife. We all, as citizens of the state, own that wildlife. So, we 99% of the time before we go into private property, we have to have a reason. That, are the people who own that property or own that property, are they engaged in a activity that we regulate? So yes, sir. To be able to enforce the law fairly, we respect the right of people's privacy and their constitutional rights. But yes, sir, according to the open field doctrine, we are.
And thank you for answering that for me, because I did see something about that. So that's one of the reasons why I asked. We have 20 seconds remaining. If in fact it reaches the hour marker and we're still live, we will continue because the clock says 3:35. The broadcast actually ends at 4 o'clock. So I'll keep everything open until I hear the hour marker. If that's fair with everybody. 106.9 FM, Awesome Radio. I just muted the mics.
Okay.
Okay.
So that when we can talk.
Okay.
The hour marker is here.
Yeah.
It only says something must have been missing when it switched to what it did.
Uh-huh.
I thought she was in the system then, but maybe she wasn't. Maybe just malfunction.
So we still have time.
Well, now, because now they got that on, we can't talk over that.
Okay, the mile marker. I'm talking about the hour marker.
Yeah, the hour marker is coming up right after that. 1 minute. After that 1 minute, see right here, actually 2 minutes, then the 4 o'clock hour marker.
Okay.
So we can actually probably end it, but I'll wait till the hour marker just to make sure.
Okay.
So when you see that hour marker, just gonna go ahead and end broadcast.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna open the channel back up. This is probably gonna be our final 10 minutes because we haven't reached the hour marker yet. So I'm gonna give it back over to my co-host and Officer Walker Shelton and Officer Jordan.
Yes, I saw and I read something that said that you wildlife officers are 3 times more likely to be killed in the line of duty than the officers that are not wildlife officers. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, the dangers of the job?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, it's, I have to, I mean, any law enforcement, regardless what it is dangerous. I wouldn't say ours is, any more dangerous than other law enforcement agencies out there. One thing we do deal with, I mean, especially during hunting season, the folks we deal with nearly every day, they have a firearm, whether it be a high-powered rifle, a shotgun, pistol, so I mean, every day we know they have a gun. I mean, and it's, I mean, that's their job. I mean, we're walking up to them while they're holding their firearm to check, make sure they have the appropriate license, all that kind of stuff, so it is a very dangerous job. I mean, you're around guns all the time. I'll be quick on this whole story, just that you brought it up. A couple deer seasons ago, I was out working. I was patrolling on foot, and I had seen I had looked through my binoculars, and I had seen a guy in a deer stand hunting. Well, when I looked through my binoculars, he was looking at me through the scope of his rifle. And that's a pretty eerie feeling, Thankfully, once he recognized that I was a person and who I was, he quickly put it down. But that's just it's the kind of stuff game wardens deal with, every year during hunting season. Firearms are by nature inherently dangerous, but we teach hunter safety education courses, and in those courses we preach gun safety. So,
yeah. And that was one of the deals I want to ask about general safety as far as hunting season, the proper way to travel with a weapon, as far as the proper use of a weapon, and any other kind of safety factors, because this is good public information. Also, have you ever encountered any accidental shootings or anything while hunting?
Yes, sir. Yep, sure have. Unfortunately, that's it's like I said, hunting is meant. We want you to go out there and have fun, but at the end of the day, we want you to go home. Officers across the state, we investigate hunting incidents every year where guns accidentally discharged, hunters mistakenly identify a person or their hunting partner's game. It happens every year, and being that the agency that we're with, the Wildlife Commission, that's part of our job duties is to investigate hunting accidents. It's like I said, it's that's education courses. We preach gun safety. I'd say 95 to 98% of hunting accidents are avoidable just by being educated on how to use a firearm, how to handle a firearm, and how to treat a firearm. So that it's just an unfortunate part of the job. So
Definitely, I can see that. And it probably gave those high statistics because of the smaller number of officers. So, of course, whenever the number is smaller, anyone
right. Yep.
is going to be a high statistic. I wanted to ask you also, when I know that wildlife officers encompass wildlife inspectors, which also deal with animals being traded and bought illegally. And we're talking, and I'm assuming that they're talking about exotic animals, like, someone may have, or they're coming into the country, the animals that are coming across maybe borders and different things. Maybe somebody wants to buy a lion or a panther or a cheetah or something, and they're getting those animals. I guess my question for that is if they confiscate or bought illegally, what do they do with the animal?
Well, the illegal wildlife trade, it's like if you look at all the other criminal enterprises in the world, the wildlife trade is pretty up there.
Really?
Oh yeah. A lot you'll see, in the southeastern part of the United States is reptiles. The illegal reptile trade. Folks will go out there, collect snakes and turtles. These species, and they'll sell them all over the world and make. Unfortunately, make thousands of dollars. But it's highly illegal. Jordan,
Yeah, so also, working for this, for the wildlife, we only deal with animals that are native to North Carolina. So, we, like, Officer Shelton was saying, we deal with illegal turtle trades, snake trades that's native to our state, to buy, like a pet lion, or when I worked in the mountains, someone had a pet zebra in their backyard.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen all sorts of stuff. And forgive me because I am not knowledgeable as to what agency would deal with that, but the agency would not deal with that because that animal's not native to our state. So we just specifically focus on and police the trade with animals that would be native to us here in the state.
Okay.
If a person had the resources, could they buy any animal in the North? For instance, like a giraffe.
I'm not too knowledgeable on it, but I guess zebra, maybe a giraffe isn't too far out there either. So.
Or monkeys.
I don't encourage it though.
I wouldn't encourage it either.
You know, because sometimes we see monkeys, videos of people that have
Yeah.
monkeys and
Yeah.
those type of.
Yeah,
And
the
to me,
pet
those are
trade
exotic
can be a big issue, especially not in North Carolina. It's an issue, but other states like Florida has a huge problem with illegal pet trade. And
Yeah, no, Florida's
it wreaks
crazy.
havoc on their ecosystem. So, you know, we really hope and encourage people to buy pets responsibly, and you know, not let them loose if they do buy something exotic.
And I'll add to that, like, especially for native species, like you can't, you know, I know a baby raccoon's cute or a baby squirrel's cute, but it's illegal to keep those as pets. You know, there's permits out there, there's activity permit, things like that. There's different permits that allow you to legally possess these wild animals. But we try to encourage people, at the end of the day, they are wild animals. You know, so I've heard of people having pet raccoons that have been great. I mean, raised them in a house. They've never been outside. It's their natural instinct. I mean, they're wild, as you know. They get to a certain point where they kind of snap on the owner. And
I want to bring that up because I saw actually on video on YouTube how people with endangered animals or wildlife got devoured by their owners for whatever particular reason.
yeah, oh yeah,
And that's another dangerous aspect that people have to consider.
right.
Yeah, not to mention those animals carry diseases that, you know, when you buy a dog or a cat, you take it to the vet and you get that dog, you get vaccines for diseases that it could pass to you. You know, you're not going to do that with the wild animals. So you don't know what types of diseases that animal is carrying, and it's not safe for anybody, and it's really not fair to that animal. That animal is wild, and that's how it should remain.
Definitely. I saw what was called special agents. And these special agents were dealing with regulations regarding migratory game bird hunting. And so you want to tell us a little bit about that? And I know we see the geese coming through at a certain time of year. That's the expanse of my knowledge about it, is that I've seen them and we've all witnessed them when they're coming through and migrating. Some of them have tags on their legs. And even when I lived in another state, they would come and they'd be in the park. I mean, it would be so many of them at that time, and they were going somewhere. I was always interested in what was going on with them. Can you tell us about those particular things? Those animals are allowed to be hunted?
Yes, ma'am. So, you know, so your migratory birds, any migratory bird is, it's federal law. So like your ducks, your geese, your doves. So, you know, as staff officers, as game wardens, you know, we're duly appointed with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. That allows us to enforce federal laws as well as state
Right.
and local law. I mean,
Yeah, so because they migrate, they go across, you know, they might even go to different countries. They're federally governed. So, you know, in addition to, you know, state, when hunting those animals, you also have to be cognizant of the federal laws that they might have with those animals. And we've adopted a lot of those laws. But there's seasons, there's limits, there's areas you could be or could not be in order to hunt that. Like this weekend we have coming up is the opening of dove season. That is a migratory bird. It's, you know, federally regulated.
Yeah.
And
speaking of birds, I would like to mention 2 stories to you if you don't mind.
yeah.
And tell me what you think. Number one, I had both my windows down, the driver's side window and the passenger side window. As I pulled out to the street and started to go forward, a bird flew right through my driver's side window. And thank God I had the passenger window down, because he flew right out the passenger window. I'm like, I had that passenger window up, he was just with the flag right in front of me. I would put it for sure. They probably would have ran into something.
Oh, yeah, he wanted to ride, he was tired of flying.
Yeah.
He wanted to ride with me.
Yeah.
Ride or die. And so the second one is this. I don't know what type of birds are these were, but my neighbor across the street from me was cutting his lawn. When he got there cutting the lawn, he put down some bird seeds. I think every bird in North Carolina was on the rooftop after they were eating the seeds out of the grass.
Oh, yeah, birds love an easy meal.
Yeah.
So if you put birdseed out, they're gonna come.
Yeah.
Definitely. I have one more question because I'm still interested in the migratory. There's certain geese that we see coming through, and I believe they're geese. And we saw them going and a bunch of them coming, and they were around the water. But then when they left, there were some that were still here. So is there a difference? Is there a difference in the ones that stayed versus the ones that flew away?
Yeah, so we have resident geese, and then we also have geese that fly through on migration. So the weather here in North Carolina allows those geese to stay year round that choose to be here year round. So as far as our hunting regulations go, we also have a resident geese population hunting season and a migratory hunting season, and depending on what area of the state or county you're in will determine what times a year you can hunt for those geese. And half of the county that we patrol is resident geese population, and then the other half is the regular geese population. So it just depends on what time of year it is and what area you're
See
in.
the number to call for Pitt County area wildlife. Pitt County.
Is that the number we were given earlier, Dr. Glenn?
I'm sorry. Officer Shelton, do you have a question or comment, sir?
Oh no, I mean she just brought up a really good point though. If you encounter wildlife around your house, close to home, and it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. Wildlife, I mean, just like me, love to eat, love food, but wildlife love a free, easy meal. So if you're having wildlife issues close to home, brought it up with the bird seed there at the house. But one big one major thing you can do to deter wildlife from coming so close to your house is to remove food sources from close to your home.
Right.
Whether it be bird seed, trash, things like that. So, yes, sir.
I know there's another thing. Even if you put down the grass seeds.
Yes.
Grass seeds.
Yeah. Yes.
Why is that?
It's just a source. It's just a source of food for them. They love that inner bit of the grass seed where the sprout actually will come out.
Yeah.
It's high energy for them. Birds need lots of energy, and they just love it. It's easy for them to get at. A lot of times when you put that grass seed out, it'll be a lot of seed and a little bit of area.
That's right.
So it's just like a Golden Corral buffet for them. They just go to town.
And I want to ask you if you have the information. If I thought I had it. If not, I can get it available and make it available to our listening audience. Is there an actual North Carolina wildlife officer, Pitt County, that people can contact concerns?
Yes, sir. So there's actually two wildlife officers here in Pitt County, Officer Haywood Brantley and Officer Ryan Biggerstaff. Their main area of responsibility is Pitt County, but they work Pitt County, Beaufort County, and Greene County. But yeah, any wildlife issues that you may have, they would be the two officers here to respond and be the two officers to handle it. And I'm gonna share their numbers too. With Brantley, his number is 919-274-831. And then Officer Ryan Biggerstaff is 252-904-2990.
And if you don't mind, Officer Shelton, I'm going to ask you if you can email me that information.
Yep,
I
sure
don't
will.
think I had that information available.
Yes, sir, sure will.
I really appreciate it.
And
Yes.
I'll bring up the point too that, on average, we've got about one wildlife officer per county patrolling. I mean, that's crazy to think about when we talk about a local, sheriff's department or a PD. They've got, lots of officers. there's about one of us per county. There's certain counties that have 2 officers, but not very many. So, if you do need one of us one day and you happen to call one of those numbers and somebody does not answer, listen to our voicemails. Our voicemails all have our 1-800 number in them that you can call our dispatch for, and that person who works dispatch can get you in touch with someone, somewhat close by who can answer a question or come help or do something like that.
And we have one more question. Is it illegal to purposely try to draw wildlife with food? Like leaving food out for bears and trying to get them to come, especially in the outlying areas. Is it illegal to do that?
So different species have different requirements when it comes to hunting. Like in North Carolina for deer hunting, you can bait. You can use bait. Most common around here is going to be corn. Black bear in North Carolina for black bear hunting, you can for bear, but you cannot use anything processed. It has to be natural, unprocessed products. For my
Sorry about that. We had a call calling in. If the call would like to call back, I'll make sure I pick up the right line this time.
But for migratory birds, it is unlawful. It is illegal to bait.
And that caller is calling back. Caller, if you have a comment or question, you're live on the air. Perhaps there's a problem with the phone system because I did hit the right button this time. Caller, are you there? Drop back again, caller, if you don't mind, please. Officer Shelton, so when you email me those numbers, would you include your dispatch number or any other kind of relative information for our listening audience?
Yes, sir. Sure will.
Thank you. And I'm not sure what's going on with the system, but according to the computer clock, we have about 2 minutes remaining until 4 o'clock. So we'll keep it going live until we reach the hour mark.
Definitely. Can you talk to us quickly about poaching?
Yes, ma'am. Poaching occurs and happens more often than what people realize or think. That's especially when it comes to hunting. That's one of the main reasons we're here. Number one, poaching is a safety issue. One big poaching method here in our area, folks like to night deer hunt. So whether it be a spotlight or using some type of artificial light to shine on the deer and shoot. Well, the problem is shooting at night, you don't know what's beyond that target. So you could send a stray bullet into somebody's vehicle, house, things like that. Another reason it's not fair or ethical to the animal. When you shine that light in their eyes, it stuns them. So, but I mean, there's many different forms of poaching. It hurts the resource. Like I said, the wildlife resources in this state belong to all of us. And, we definitely encourage folks that if you see any type of poaching activity, please give us a call. Let us know so we can get it stopped.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to mention about safety in general, particularly with the weapon firearm, you are always to assume that firearm is loaded at all times.
Yes, sir.
No matter if you think it's unloaded, you are to assume that it's loaded for safety reasons.
That's right. Yes, sir. Yep. Especially with the dove season coming up this weekend, hunting safety is a big thing. Keep your muzzle pointed in a safe direction at all times. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Keep the safety on until you're ready to fire. Think about a safety. Don't rely solely on the safety. Safety is a mechanical device that can fail.
And for somebody that's traveling or transporting a weapon, that weapon should be unloaded and locked. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Definitely recommend keeping it unloaded, keeping it in a case, and store ammunition separate from firearm.
Right.
Make sure there's no ammunition in your case. Whether it be at home or traveling in a car, make sure that ammunition is separate from that firearm.
Jackie.
Dr. Glenn, we're at our hour marker, and I just wanted to say to us that we're all preparing for, in the county here, preparing for a storm that's coming in. I want to say to everybody to be safe and to, be smart. The kids in a lot of places are being let out of school tomorrow, so we want you to just, like I said, be safe, and we will be praying for you. Dr. Glenn?
Okay, I'm trying to adjust there until the owner can get into the system and work it out, but let me see what I can do. But this will conclude today's broadcast of the Glenn Johnson Show, Motivation with Glenn, but I want to make sure the radio is on the air prior to leaving, so let me enter the broadcast on screen at least, and I'll figure out what's going on with the system.
Thank you so much for coming and joining us on today, and we will be inviting you back. We didn't finish everything. There's so much more we
Right.
needed to say.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for having us.
Thank you.
And that's why Officer Shelton will be joining Sergeant Darrell Lee now from the Sheriff's Office on September 19th, so we'll have another opportunity with Officer Shelton. Thank you so much, sir.
Yep, thank y'all.